Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Lieutenant Nathaniel Flint of the Landship Scorpios, and today we're going to try something a little bit different with my mic. I hope it'll make editing a little easier. Also, my voice is crap and it's just going to highlight that so much more. I really want to get more of these videos done and out as quickly as possible, so we're going to be working on it. Today we're going to be working on the Vanguard Unit Stats, kind of going through them like the other videos we've been doing. So an important thing to start off this video is that the Vanguard expansion has been kind of rearranged a little bit. So has the Battle of Rivet. So we have already covered the Landkrieger and Vert tank stats in our Battle of Rivet core unit set. That is because they moved some of those units over into the core box to help with the variety of the core box and to get some more pluggable units in there. That also means that they moved one rocket cycle and one mono wheel into the Vanguard expansion. The reason is because this is the recommended expansion, the very first one you get for Rivet Wars Reloaded. So it should be Battle of Rivet. You should also be trying to get the Vanguard expansion alongside with that. Not covered in the stats today are the rocket cycle and mono wheel from the base set, which were covered in that last video, and the vertical tank and Landkrieger stats, which were covered in that base set video. So we'll put that in the corner way over there for you guys to see. But without further ado, let's jump right in, because this should be short, like legitimately short, not just every single time I start one of these videos I say short. So let's go. Up first is MacLeod's Guard. The MacLeod's Guard and the Baron Munchen Guard were alternate sculpts and unit art for basically Riflemen and Panzerfaust in classic Rivet Wars. However, in Rivet Wars Reloaded, to help with some of the balancing and some of the other choices, they figured that they had different sculpts, they had a different theme, they were really cool and their favorite among fans. So they thought that they should give them a little something extra to help with their stats and stuff. So we are going to be seeing a little bit of difference between, for instance, the MacLeod Guard and Riflemen. So let's jump right in that. The first thing we notice is that they cost 1 deployment point, but also 1 rivet. They have a movement speed of 1, but as we can see over here, they do have the special runner, which they gave +1 movement when they begin its movement in a trench. We see that they have armor type 1, and they also get 1 health, so that aligns with the classic stats. They have 2 land range and 1 air range, which kind of mirrors the Riflemen there for a little bit. And we do see that they only get that 1 attack, which is 3 dice against armor type 1, just like the Riflemen, which is solid. But we do see they do get that extra little dice. They get 1 dice against armor type 2, giving them a little bit more of a wiggle room than normal Riflemen. That is a really cool touch. We also see that, according to this card, they do have the special inspiration. The area this unit is in counts as a trench. Now, I'm a little skeptical. I kind of feel that they forgot to put this in for Lieutenant MacLeod, the hero unit, and accidentally put it on the MacLeod's Guard. But without any confirmation on that, right now, as is, MacLeod's Guard count whatever area they're in counts as a trench. So that is super, super powerful for a non-hero infantry unit that can get out. That means that you're going to want to spread out your MacLeod's Guards and kind of pepper them with some Riflemen. They kind of will act as like little sergeants with them. That is really solid. And that basically effectively makes their movement 2 all the time. So Renner is a little redundant to give them here, but their movement is basically always 2, and then they're going to give all the units with Runner, like Riflemen, that additional movement as well, as long as they stay in their area. So I mean, this is an amazing unit, solid all around, very little to complain about here. So I'm going to say that's good. Very cool. If this wasn't a mistake with or without this is still a cool unit that has some nice update and some different utility than just a regular rifleman. So I think it's worth the cost. But with this, it's a steal. So I'm very happy to see this. Super excited to see how this works in Rivet Wars Reloaded. This is also a good thing to say that I will point stuff out like this when I see that. These cards are not finalized. These are work in progress. We gave feedback on them weeks ago. So, I mean, these are all work in progress. These files are no longer available, probably because they are working on them based on our feedback. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. And next up is our punchy boy, the M7 Boss. This is a tank unit with 1 plug slot. We see that they cost 3 deployment points and 1 rivet. They only have 1 movement, but we can see over here that they do have runner, where they gain +1 if they begin their movement on a trench. So that's pretty awesome. They're an armor type 3, and they have 3 health, so they've got pretty good survivability out there on the field. They do have a 2 land range and no air range. We can see they get 1 attack, but they get 2 dice against armor types 1, 2, and 3, so that's a pretty nice spread. They also get 1 dice against that big old armor type 4, so they are going to be able to take the hurt to any unit put out on the field. Their specials makes this a very special unit. So they have Barrage. This unit may make an additional attack during the combat phase. If it does, it can't move during the movement phase. So if you get right up there to the enemy lines, you can just start wailing on people as long as you don't have to move. That is pretty awesome. This is straight out of classic Rivet Wars, so it is a good balance for this unit. And of course, it gets that immune to gas, which is solid for all tank units. Overall, this is a very good unit for the allies, very flavorful, and I'm very happy to see it make its return. Are we going to be saying that with each of these units? Happy to make its return. Let's just assume that I'm very happy all these units are returning. I don't think there's anything massive with any of the changes that I was outraged by as far as stats go. So let's just assume that I'm happy to see what units have returned, make a return. Next, we have Corporal Cher Ami. This is his plug version. So as a plug, he costs 2 deployment points and 1 rivet. And the only thing he brings to the table is his special. So as we see from the special, we have Bird Spotter. Oh, so we have Bird Spotter here. But this on his back has Precision 1. This unit adds +1 to its dice rolls when attacking. So we're not sure what Bird Spotter actually does. Let me see if it's down here. All right, it's down here. So let's assume this is a mistake. I'm pretty sure I submitted so much feedback when it was open, so I assume I got this. But let's go down and read what Bird Spotter is. Let's go based off this for now. Bird Spotter is during the combat phase, choose an area within 2 land range. Friendly units in that area have +1 to their dice rolls when attacking this turn. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good solid thing. It's not just units in his square. It's up to 2 land range away, so he can stay a little bit further back and basically offer aerial recon. That and precision is which either or it is a good one. Precision gives +1 die to its rolls when attacking, so that's still close, still kind of flavorful. Of course, this doesn't have any attack, and it's not saying that it buffs it, so I'm assuming this is a mistake, but benefit of the doubt, both versions, both realities are still pretty good for this plug unit. Giving whatever you're plugged into Precision 1 is still very helpful. Any tank on the ally side could benefit from that. But this is also still amazing for helping out other units up to 2 away. So a very solid unit and a good plug. Now we go down to Corporal Cher Ami, the hero infantry unit. He casts 3 deployment points and 1 rivet. He also has 1 bounty that I'll call out right there. He has a movement of 1, but as we can see over in his specials, he does get runner, which is a +1 when he begins on a trench. So that's pretty good. He's armor type 1, but he does have 2 health, giving him a little bit of squishiness. He can last a little bit longer. However, he gets an attack land range of 3, so he's pretty long distance, and an air range of 0, so he's more about attacking people quite far off. We see, based on his attack profile down there, that he gets 2 attacks, and he gets 2 dice against armor type 1 and 2, so that's pretty good. He also gets 1 dice against armor type 3. So, I mean, a very good unit. He's got a nice spread. Combined with that range, he's basically like a small artillery unit, like very solid. He, of course, also gets that bird spotter ability that we talked about earlier. That's still a amazing thing to get, helping other units gain that additional die to their attacks this turn. So very, very solid unit, a great addition to Reloaded. There's a lot of uses you can have for Corporal Cher Ami out on the battlefield. Next, we find ourselves in Blight territory once again, and we are talking about the Baron Munchen Guard. Just a note, not pictured here. This is the Trench Raider art. But the Baron Munchen Guards, I'll put up an old picture if I don't have a new one. They look like classic Rivet Wars. They are a solid unit. And of course, this one, just like the Cloud Guard, got a little bit of an update. So we have the 1 deployment point, but they also cost 1 rivet, probably for the extra wiggle room that they get to have. They have 1 movement, but we do see that they get that runner, which is good. They are armor type 1, and they also get that 1 health, so they're still that infantry squishy. But they do have 2 land range and 1 air range. Typical, just like the Panzerfaust. We look at their attack profile, and we see something that's really close to the Panzerfaust. So we see that they have 1 dice against armor type 1, 3 against armor type 2, and 2 against armor type 3. So they are able to attack a wide variety of enemies, but they're definitely meant for the support units and the tank units, leaning more heavily towards that. What is bonus for them is they finally gain immune to gas, which classic Rivet Wars Baron Munchen Guards did not get, despite their gas masks. It's because they weren't meant to be a whole new unit. They were meant to be a alternate sculpt for the base infantry, so they didn't get it because Panzerfaust don't have it. But this is much more flavorful for this unit that they get that immunity to gas. We also see a special type that is new to Reloaded, which is ammo type gas attack. I'm assuming there'll be other ammo types that could be, but for now we see this mostly in gas, which is where a unit can choose whether or not to make their attack profile attack, or any attack that they do, a gas attack. Add that onto it. The reason is because if you're attacking a unit with immunity to gas, they don't take any damage from gas attacks. So you might choose to not do a gas attack to do damage to a unit that is immune to gas. But if you're not attacking them, for instance, if they're attacking riflemen and they only get that 1 die, they may choose to make this a gas attack and disperse a gas cloud. Those gas clouds have different stats, as we saw with our core units read through when we did that for Reloaded. It has their own attacks, and that's just more dangerous. Like it's more gas for the Blight to use, which makes sense based on their designs, and it's just a little bit more deadly and a little bit better crowd control out in the battlefield. So flavor win on the updates to this unit, and I'm definitely excited that it did get that Reloaded update, because there's just a lot of good that is here. I think this is a solid addition. This is definitely a reason to get Vanguard on its own. I just like it, and they look amazing. So if there is a reason to buy Vanguard, if you saw everything else and everything that's to come, and you said, not for me, no, sir. I will tell you right now, the Sturmrad is the reason you buy Vanguard. Sturmrad is my baby. I am very biased against Sturmrad. I get caught playing the Blight all the time. And second wave is the great equalizer for the game. It adds a lot to classic Rivet Wars. And a big reason for that is because Sturmrad is the balancing act for the Blight in that game. This little baby is so good for the cost. And the Blight really needed this in the classic Rivet Wars for all the complaints that there was a bias with the Allied. If you knew how to utilize your Sturmrads well, that bias disappeared. So let's stop gushing about this unit that I love. First off, look at that art. Look at it. It's so good. Like, all right. The Sturmrad is a support unit, so it doesn't count as a cavalry, but it's a great support unit. It costs 2 deployment points to get out on the field. It has 2 movement. It's an armor type 2 with 2 health. It has 2 land range and 1 air range. And this unit gets 1 attack. It gets 1 dice against armor type 1, but it's not meant for armor type 1. It gets 2 dice against armor type 2 and 2 dice against armor type 4, which is nice, but it gets 3 dice against armor type 3. This thing is meant to be anti-tank. It's meant to go after all of those allied tanks, and honestly, it's going to work very well against all the Nemoan tank units and armor type 3 units that they're bringing to the field. This is such a good one, and he doesn't cost any rivets. Solid unit all around. It doesn't have any specials to kind of set it apart, but it is a solid equalizing support unit, a great bit of artillery to hammer at the armor type 4 and armor type 3 units. It is a very solid unit. It's got its own weaknesses. Allies have a lot of stuff that can target armor type 2 and take it down quite easily. The range isn't amazing there, and honestly, for a mono wheel, its movement is not as good as the other mono wheels, but it doesn't need to be because it is a solid unit. I still think that even with all the rebalancing, this unit still has its place on the field, which is good because I'm a fanboy. So, happy to see it. Next up, we have Elsa Frost. Captain Elsa Frost is a returning unit from Classic Rivet Wars. This is her plug. She's a hero plug in this card. She costs 2 deployment points and 1 rivet to get out there. She doesn't have an attack on her own in her plug form this time. So let's look at her special to see what's going on. So she has an action, so this would be basically her attack in her attack phase. Hunker down. Choose a trench within... Oh, there's no number there. Within land range. So this could either mean that they forgot to give a land range, or it means 1 land range, or that it means the land range of whatever unit that they're plugged into. I don't think that's clear enough. I don't think I gave feedback on this. I think I missed this the first time around. Friendly non-hero infantry units in that area gain a shield token. That's cool. So instead of an attack, this plug is handing out shield tokens for infantry. Non-hero infantry. So this is Panzerfaust. This is Baron Munchen Guard. This could be Trench Raiders. This is good. This is very good. There's a lot of reason to use this unit. Handing out shield tokens basically is like extra health, except they can only have 1 shield token at a time. And it's basically, instead of attacking when an attack hits, taking out its health, it basically removes the shield like armor. So this could give a lot of survivability to a lot of hero units that don't have that. Giving this to a trench raider before they charge forward and start attacking like a bunker or a strategic objective, that could be big. That could be what you need to get in range. This is very solid. A very good plug. And now we're going to look at what that looks like in her normal unit, her hero infantry stats. We can still see that they have hunker down as an action. So we're going to have to see what the other stats are to justify getting rid of her attack to use hunker down. So she costs 3 deployment points and 2 rivets to get out there. There is that bounty that we can see. She only has 1 movement, but we do see that she gets runner. So she's going to be sticking to a lot of trenches where hunker down is going to get a lot of action. So that's pretty good. She only has armor type 1. She does get 2 health, but that's still pretty squishy with armor type 1. So we'll see how that goes. She does have 2 range and 1 air range, so she is able to attack from a distance. We see that she gets 1 attack, but she does have 2 dice against armor type 1 and 2, and 1 dice against armor type 3. So she can hit a wide variety of units with a very solid attack. And then, of course, that hunker down, giving units, I'm assuming that she is hiding behind in the grid attack order, some extra shield tokens to buff them up before a charge. Very solid, a very good unit. She went through a lot of changes from her classic Rivet Wars stats. So it's very interesting to see how those go. She was like a little artillery, like she had a lot of range and precision. So her role has definitely been adjusted in the rebalance. But I don't have anything major I can point at and say that it's incorrect. Her attack isn't so amazing that hunker down isn't useful, depending on what is intended by this. Because if this is 0 range, then the plug isn't as helpful. But this is going to be more useful. If it's based on the range of the base unit, so in the plug it'll be whatever tank, in here it's a 2 lane range, that it makes it a little bit more useful. That's quite good. If it's some amount that we don't see because they forgot it here, who knows? I still think that it's a solid special, and thus this is a very solid unit. There's a lot of reasons you would want Captain Elsa Frost out in the field. Honestly, I might just deploy her as a plug so that the main purpose is very clear. She is out there to shield infantry, who I am focusing on, to try to get up trenches, not duckboards anymore, up trenches to take over places of interest, points of interest, like bunkers or strategic objectives. That is a very clear use and strategy that I'm using on the battlefield. As an infantry unit, it muddies the water a little bit. I do like that she gets an option to fight back if needed. So, I don't know. A very solid unit, a lot to think about. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works when an actual game is going. And hopefully I haven't spent that long talking, because we're done. This is it. We have finished all that we have here. So, with that, let's call it good. Thank you so much. I really want to get this out. Watch my other videos where I have longer outros where I talk about the community and giving thoughts and ideas and etc. There's links to a bunch of stuff down below in the description, so check that out, like all the community places. But this is Vanguard. This and the core unit, the Battle of Rivet core units, are considered the base experience. Like, they really push. For instance, for the Kickstarter, this was the base, like the core pledge, where these 2 boxes together was the base set, Battle of Rivet, and the Vanguard expansion. So this is the intended experience for Rivet Wars. So this is definitely a suggestion. I think that I would suggest to a new person looking at Rivet Wars that yes, this has a lot of units and things that I can't see playing Rivet Wars without these days. Especially with, you want to get that 1 extra of both of your cavalry that'll be in this box, and the 1 extra of the tanks that were added. So the Landskrieger and the Vert tank. And it's a good collection of stuff to have. So, I mean, there's a lot of good here in this expansion. So I can definitely see it as these 2 together being considered the core experience of Rivet Wars Reloaded. So I suggest it. Without further ado, check out my other videos. We talk about the core rules. We talked about some other stats. We did the Nemoan Kickstarter exclusive faction. And let me know down in the comments what you want to see next. I am aware that the other big new thing that will be a massive video will be the Aerial Aces rules, as well as the expansion stats for them. They got huge reworks and entirely different rules on aerial stuff. There's also, after this, the reinforcement boxes. So Allied is going to have a whole box that's Allied reinforcements, and Blight is going to have a whole different box that's Blight reinforcements. Those are also going to be bigger videos because it's all one faction, so I'm not going to be able to do both of them together. So we will handle those when they come. These PDFs are no longer available, but we are just waiting on more news and things as they come. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really want this to be a short video, so I'm going to end it here, share the other videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.